Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, and some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Polar Night. So y'all, without further ado, let's jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm Chan, you are up, and let's go! Alrighty, let's see, let me turn my fan on to medium. There we go. Right. So, I hate to bore you all, but I need to give you a safety brief before we do anything else. Legal requirement, for your own safety, you get the gist. Her expression hardened from her usual sunny disposition as she began to explain to us the safety procedures and survival information. She gave a well-rehearsed speech about the ship's muster points, procedure for emergencies, where to find fire extinguishers, but it is extremely important that you wear your personal flotation devices in the event of an emergency, and whenever you are instructed to do so by the crew. If you fall into the Arctic Ocean, cold shock can kill in as little as 1 minute. If you find yourself in the water, you need to resist the urge to panic. Get your breathing under control and don't thrash about unnecessarily. You will then have roughly 10 minutes of useful movement to get yourself out of the water or into a stable situation where you are floating before hypothermia sets in. After that, you have about an hour before you become unconscious. Provided you are wearing your PFD, you may have about another hour before your heart stops from the cold. Every effort will be made to rescue you if you fall overboard, so you must remember these rules to maximize your chances of surviving if you end up in the water. Are we all clear? With such dire warnings, all the tension of before came rushing back. I swallowed nervously and gave a nod. It hadn't really sunk in just how dangerous this voyage could be. Everyone else seemed to be equally discomforted, but everyone gave a nod or grunt of acknowledgement. Good. I'm sure you won't need this information, but it's important that you know. While I have your attention, here's your handbook. It contains all the safety information I just told you, a guide to the ship and its facilities, rules. You get the picture. Breakfast is served between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. Lunch is 12 noon till 1:30 p.m. and dinner's between 4:30 and 6 p.m. Any questions or concerns? I'm your woman. And just like that, her bright grin was back. I'm starving. I hope they've got some decent chow. The chef is currently preparing a late supper. Please be patient. In the meantime, can I fix you folks a nightcap? Well, God, yeah, Rufus is like Southern. Southern, let me get that voice. Well, that has to be the best damn idea I've heard all day. Damn straight. Sounds like a plan. No thanks. Although I wouldn't mind a snack. Haven't eaten since lunch. I'm pretty hungry too. I'll wait for something to eat. June moved behind the bar as Dana, Rufus, and Aaron took up seats on the bar stools. Gail and Tabby took a seat on the sofas where Joseph had been waiting, who was nowhere to be seen. I suppose being the bosun meant that he would be pretty busy. Stefan had wandered over to the hatch that separated the bar area from the kitchen. I wasn't super tired right now, and having been told I had time to leave the ship before she departed, I found myself seriously considering leaving. But when I thought of how much money Mom had poured into this trip, my mind was racing, and maybe chatting a bit would help loosen me up. I still knew almost nothing about Dana or Rufus except who on the Aran they were related to. Aaron seemed to be a bit oblivious, and I could already tell he was a flirt. Seemed to be a decent sort, though. Sensitive about his sister, too, clearly. God damn it, I have been doing this in the wrong accent the whole time. Sorry, y'all, let me go ahead and put my accent back on. Stefan was by the open hatch to the kitchen, watching the chef work. He was a weirdo, but friendly enough. Plus, I was fascinated by his apparent rock-solid conviction that the Aran crew was alive. Then there was Gail and Tabby. Gail was lovely, but I couldn't wrap my head around her conviction. Like Stefan, that the Aran crew were still alive. Tabby was a bit of a brat. I didn't much like her. But based on what she said, she'd been dragged into this voyage by Gail despite seemingly accepting their mother was almost certainly dead. I could empathize with that at least a little bit, I suppose. I glanced at the clock. I had time to chat a bit, maybe get the others' opinion on Sharif's plan. Who to speak with? Let's go with Stefan. Stefan was watching through the open kitchen hatch, staring at something within. As I got closer, there was a flash of orange and a whoosh. Cool! As I got close, I saw the chef working his magic on a work full of chunks of something, flipping it with a bright plume of flame. Stefan seemed mesmerized by it. I mean, it was pretty cool. My cooking skills amounted to stuffing whatever into a pot and stewing the living daylights out of it. Hey, how are... Oh. As I reached out to touch him, he jolted so much you'd think I'd tasered him. Ah! Ah! Don't sneak up on me like that. I nearly had a heart attack. Second, y'all. It is water time. Damn, man, so did I. We stared at each other for a few moments before bursting into laughter. You need to relax more. And you need to wear a bell around your neck so you can't just sneak up on people. I wasn't sneaking. He cut me off with a loud snort, chuckling at my indignation. I found myself laughing, especially at the mental image of wearing a bell. Isn't it cool? I love the way they can do that, just flip stuff like that. It's pretty cool, yeah. I wonder if it's just showing off. Heh, maybe. So, what did you think of Sharif, I mean? What do you mean? You don't think it's a little convenient? He knows the leader of the expedition, claims he's a friend, and just when the official search dries up, suddenly he finds a note from Hagen pointing out exactly where he is. Coincidence? I suppose. Come on, dude, you believe everything you're told at face value? Mate, why would he lie? I don't know, but that doesn't mean he isn't. Gah! He gave me a frustrated look. Never mind, I'm too hungry to explain. As if to emphasize his point, his stomach gave a loud growl. Alex always made the best goulash. What I would give for a bowl right now. Your brother, the cook, yeah? Yep. With him cooking, I can only imagine what amazing chow the crew get. I could swear I could almost see drool on his lips. He sounds cool, but your mom and dad appreciated having a good cook around. Oh. His bright smile and happy gaze melted away. They died when I was young. My stomach clenched and my own smile vanished. God damn. Oh, mate, I'm so sorry. No, it's fine. You didn't know. My bro raised me for most of my life, so we're super close. I can cook a mean borscht because of him, plus he got me into lighters, too. Oh, he collected. Yeah, it's how I know about your Ellisorn. That's a pretty specific interest, if you don't mind me saying. And you don't even smoke, am I right? Nope, never did, and neither did Alex. I just find them fascinating. He was a strange one, but he seemed like a decent type, although my curiosity was building to the point where I couldn't hold in my question anymore. I was meaning to ask, if you don't mind, of course, but why are you so convinced that they're alive? His expression was odd, not upset, more pensive. Have you ever heard of the Fiala expedition? Inwardly, I grimaced, bracing myself for a dose of crazy. No? It was an expedition to reach the North Pole that took place at the turn of the 20th century. It failed, though. The ship got crushed in ice. But despite that, the expedition lost only one crew member, despite being trapped in the ice for nearly 2 years. Can you imagine 2 whole years with the early 20th century ship in the Arctic? Now imagine what the crew of the Iran could survive with a modern ship. All of its supplies and technology? Diesel-powered generators, tinned food, survival equipment? Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean she couldn't have sank, right? He gave me a dirty look. You think a ship that size of that modern would just sink? Why not? You don't think modern ships sink all the time. The Iran has state-of-the-art emergency equipment. Didn't you pay any attention to the inquiry? It has detachable beacons with GPS designated to transmit if they are submerged. If they went down, something would have been left behind to tell us. The fact they didn't means that wherever she is, the Iran is afloat. I would stake my life on it. Judging by the death glare he gave me, I believed it. All right. I held my hands up placatingly. Look, just trust me on this, okay? I've done my research. Believe me, the Iran went missing for a reason. Oh, no. Professor Hagen isn't a climate scientist. He's an anthropologist. Why would he lead a mission to investigate glacial melting? It doesn't add up. I've done it. I've set him off. If he starts talking about the Jews or the Rockefellers, I'm out of here. Look, I want to have a wander around. I'm not sure I'll be staying on board, so just want to get a feel for the place before I decide, you know? Oh. Yeah, of course, but I hope you stay, you know? Thanks, man. See you later. He gave a cheeky grin, waved, then turned to stare through the kitchen hatch once more. God, when is dinner ready? Alright, y'all, let me take a little brief pause right here for some water. Hey. Love you. Just saying love you to my partner. Gail and Tabby. Let's see what the two sisters have to say. Oh god, they look like they're already at each other's throats. The two sisters were sitting around the same round table, but with a hefty gap between them. Gail was nestled in the bench of the bend of the couch, while Tabby was a good couple feet apart from her. Shockingly, Tabby was futzing with her phone, while Gail was staring off at the bar absently, clearly fuming. Gail's legs were crossed, her hoof bobbing up and down in clear agitation. I gingerly stepped closer. Gail didn't even notice me until I was almost standing directly in front of her. Garrett! I'm sorry, I was... No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you. I gestured to the far end of the sofa. May I? Don't be silly, sit! She brightened immediately, patting the seat next to her. I shimmied between the table and sofa, plopping down a respectful distance from Gail. I don't bite, Garrett. I don't know, I wouldn't want to tangle with those horns. I don't have a spare eye anymore. We both chuckled. She scooted closer to me anyway. Not quite touching, but certainly pretty close. It's a nice ship, isn't it? June says it's normally for touring the Arctic, but they have some nice facilities too. A sauna, a small gym. They even converted part of the crew lounge to a sort of cinema. Really? Hope the crew aren't too upset about that. Nah, June says there are only 5 crew aboard. There's more than enough room. I raised an eyebrow. 5? Isn't that a little light for a ship this size? Really? You think so? I mean, June is steward. She's a steward, I think. And there's Joseph, the bosun. There's the chef, too, so that's more than half the crew already. I'd imagine the captain and the first officer are on the bridge. Even for a ship this size, I'd have expected at least a few more deck crew. Joseph must be run off his hooves. Yeah, now you mention it, it does seem weird, especially if we're going to be doing search and rescue. Rescue? I had to bite my tongue to stop myself asking about that. Tabby rolled her eyes, but said nothing. On that topic, what did you make of Sharif's plan? Well, if what he says is true, it's possible the official search missed them. But it strikes me as odd that this Hagen guy left behind an alternative route that Sharif found, just as the official search ended. Wouldn't the university have known about it? Said something earlier. You think he's lying? Well, I wouldn't go that far. It just seems strange. But I don't think it matters much anyway. I mean, it's been 2 years. Gail's expression flickered ever so slightly. It was obvious where I was going with this, and she decided to cut to the chase. Garrett, you don't have to tell me how hopeless it sounds. Believe me, I think about it every day. But if I don't hold on to hope, then what? Mama's just gone. Nothing to bury, nothing to mourn. Her expression was stoic. I could hear the slight break in her voice. Her bright eyes flicked away from mine, unfocused. I could very much understand. Many, many days, weeks, and months with Mum, watching her cycle between bawling despair and catatonia gave me more than my fill of the grieving process. I mean, don't you want to know what happened to your brother? At the very least to know for sure one way or the other? I guess. She noticed my hesitation and paused for a moment, looking into my eyes until I couldn't meet her gaze. You didn't get along with him, right? I continued to stare at the floor, hugging myself under the guise of folding my arms. The pit in my stomach worsened, and the prospect of just quitting this trip became ever more tempting. Before I could answer, Tabby cut in with a loud toot and sigh. 1 second, y'all. Alrighty. Leave him alone. The look on Gail's face could have killed. I'd seen her angry during the meeting, but this was something else. I found myself shrinking back from her. Trust me, Garrett, I've had this conversation 100 times now. You'll never get through to her. Oh. Trust me, Garrett, I've had this conversation 100 times now. You'll never get through to her. Nobody asked you. She hissed the words, her fist balled up. She was almost trembling with rage. Of course, just like you didn't ask if I wanted to come along on this fucking trip. Tabby. The warning in her voice made my fur prickle. I could hear her seething, but Tabby had clearly had enough. You think I don't care about Mom? You think I want to never see her again? Not have a body to bury? I raised my hand in a futile attempt to placate her. Venom dripped from her words and her glare was fixed on her sister. What I don't want is to keep picking at this fucking wound for the rest of my life. She jumped to her feet, glaring at Gale, and for the briefest moment I was scared they were going to start throwing punches. But thankfully, I think, she spun round and stormed out towards the cabins. Once again, the air went frigid as all eyes followed Tabby, then focused on us, but mainly Gale. Her eyes remained fixed on the door Tabby had left through, gazing daggers and apparently oblivious to the fact everyone was now staring. The dire warnings June had given of an icy death in the Arctic waters sounded like a fantastic evening plan if it meant leaving the situation. I gave an awkward cough. No effect. I swear I could hear her teeth grinding. I gingerly reached out, terrified I'd lose fingers. Gale. I seemed to snap her out of it. She took a moment, scanning the room only to realize she was the center of attention. Sorry, everyone. It's been a stressful time. Everyone turned back to what they were doing, and the smattering of chat started anew. Gale and I sat in awkward silence for a moment. Her gaze locked on the table. She's not entirely wrong. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. She still didn't look up at me, instead staring, unfocused. I didn't insist she come with me. I saw tears starting to form as her voice broke. My mouth opened to speak, but anything I wanted to say caught in my throat. Really, what could I say to her? I didn't want... I'm sorry, Garrett. Could you excuse me? I nodded numbly, and she stood, before quickly for a quick walking to the door leading to the cabins. The chatting dimmed for a moment as she left, and I felt a few gazes on me. Well, it could have gone better. Realizing I was sitting awkwardly alone, I rose as quietly and nonchalantly as I could, given I'd been a foot from ground zero. I hoped they were okay. As much as I wanted to go after her to check, this really wasn't my fight. Who to speak with? Rufus, Aaron, and Dana. Southern. I'll do a Southern gentleman, okay. And I had to chase the son of a bitch across the base to get my pants back. And the bastard threw them into a shower stall with a private and got them all soaked. So there I was at roll call, my pants plastered to my ass and legs, and I was the only one naked from the waist up. The rest of those at the bar were laughing. June almost doubled over, and Dana wiping a tear as Rufus told some raunchy story. He already had a pint of beer from which he audibly gulped in between boisterously recounting something outrageous. Aaron had cider, I think? He sipped from it delicately when he wasn't chuckling along to Rufus's antics. Dana also had a pint of beer, already half drained. Before my eyes, she gulped it greedily before nearly choking at something Rufus was saying. Hey, mind if I take a seat? Oh, Garrett, sure. Though you missed some crazy shit Rufus got up to. Alright, guys and gals, I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and that notification bell. Leave a super thanks or a tip if you can. It always helps. Until the next video, I love you all. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.